What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the LTL True Crime Podcast. We are live here on November 15, 2023. I want to welcome everybody back into the live show. And of course, you're all here because we want to hear the facts. We want to hear the answers. And we're going to talk Chelsea Grimm. And I'm so glad that we have been beating this drum for the last 30 days. This marks 30 days talking about this case here on the LTL True Crime Podcast. And I think I kind of started getting the mainstream media talking about this again. Maybe it's quite a possibility, because I do know tomorrow that News Nation is going to go live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and talk about Chelsea's case. So I do want to commend them that they got back on this. And if they need any information, believe me, you can come over here to LTL True Crime Podcast, because I can get you squared up with all the information. So my friends, I have an extremely special guest tonight that's going to join me. One of the PIs that have been on the Chelsea Grimm case, Steve Fischer. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of a bio and I'm bringing him in. So Steve Fischer is a seasoned missing persons private investigator with over 20 years of experience, boasting commercial license with multi-engine instrument qualifications. He specializes in aerial search and rescue missions. Fischer is also certified in search and rescue, drone pilot and ground searches, proficient in various investigation and SAR techniques. So let's not wait too much longer here. Let's bring him in, and we'll just say hi and see what's going on in Chelsea Grimm's case. Steve, thank you for joining the show. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. We've had the opportunity to talk over the last couple of weeks, and I want to say, I really appreciate, spending the time with me. I know we had a conversation about 2 weeks. Off the record, got kind of your insight into this case. And, I appreciate that, you along with me have been really beating the drum on this, because it's a very important case and it involves a lot of mystery. And I think, I don't know if I'm quoting you correctly, but it was like, every time you look into something, you get a lead and you feel good about it, and then it just takes a weird turn. So
yeah, it's been a wild case that way, as far as seems to just be polar opposites for every time you think you're going the right direction, there's something that just doesn't make sense, and it's been a tough case. I'm obviously not involved in it anymore, but it's been tricky, and it is an important case, because every single missing person case is important. That's all I do is missing person cases, and she's still out there, and so I'm glad you're, keeping it alive, because I do still watch the case, of course, and it's, obviously it's plummeting in as far as viewers, like eyeballs go, which is the most important metric in missing person cases, is flooding information and getting as many people involved in search and activism as possible.
Yeah, and like I said, I might not have the reach that News Nation does, but I am really glad that they're going to bump it up tomorrow and start talking about it. And they should. They shouldn't have dropped this case, in my opinion, 3 weeks ago. They really should have been on this. I mean, for me, how I got involved with it, and believe me, it's funny. I look 30 days ago where I started and where I am now, and I'm just so thankful and grateful that I've got to this position to talk to all these people. I've talked, with you. I've talked with some of Chelsea's friends. We've searched down the legal documents to get that out there, because I feel like no one's really doing anything, and this poor girl is somewhere. I really do feel that. And it's like, how I got involved was a small article that popped up somewhere, and I went, oh, that's kind of interesting. What's going on here? And then it just wormholed for me. And now here I am. I'm talking to one of the PIs that was on the investigation. So
yeah, and I just started as a volunteer. I was out actually on a different case, and which wrapped up, and I saw that this was going on, and I was remotely, I wasn't really in the area. I was out in the desert of Buckeye, Arizona, and I heard about it, and I just called the search and rescue commander from Coconino County and said that, I was in the area, and if they could use any, assistance, because I'm with the county team out here. And at that time, he said that they didn't need assistance because they had wrapped up, and they had finished some drone mapping, which is kind of like a last step, and they were analyzing the data. And so then I decided to go up there anyways because one of the things I do is extended, search,
Yeah.
private search. And so I went up there, and then I ended up, touching base with him again. And he was very, he gave me their search grids and search coordinates, and he gave me their whole mapping and everything. So he was very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's bring up, I have a small presentation here. I know people are very eager to get some answers, and maybe you can shed some light as to what was going on in some of these particular situations. Let me just share my screen here for everybody. We'll bring this up, and Steve can go through this with us. So, I put this little presentation together and bring this up for everybody. So, obviously, we have Steve Fischer, SF Investigates, joining us tonight. Again, Steve, thank you so much. I want to let everybody know this is not a paid appearance. Steve came on here for the love of this case, and him and I really, we talk about this a lot. We really do, behind the scenes, and what ifs, and did you see this, and did you read the report? So we're constantly talking back and forth. So good thing we had a tip that, this tip that came in, and I kind of, poked around today, and I sent this email about a week ago, but there was a tip that came in at 10/6/23 that Chelsea was seen in Phoenix at a restaurant. And I got the message back from the restaurant owner today. Basically says, "Hi, Brian. Hope all is well. Ironically, who we thought was Chelsea was a different customer that actually came back into our restaurant last week and with her bearded dragon." How weird is that? And she did confirm she was not Chelsea. This was a case of mistaken identity, and we apologize for my delay in getting back to you. I pray that she can be found. I actually spoke to that restaurant owner, just to let my viewers know. I spoke to her today. We had about a 20-minute conversation. Very nice people, and she does want to come on the show. So at some point, I'm going to get her up here on the panel, and we can talk and recount those events. But I don't want to hold that back to what we want to do tonight, because I think Steve has some extremely valuable information that he can shed in to this case. So we'll go here. Steve, you want to just explain this? I don't know if you can see it on your screen. If you need me to enlarge it, just let me know.
I mean, if you want to read it, I'll know what it is.
Yeah, so this is the search and rescue. You tweeted back. I don't have the exact date, so I apologize. But you said, "I'm back in Williams, Arizona today to continue the search efforts for Chelsea Grimm. I've learned that there are at least 2 other search groups working in the area, and I'm sharing my SAR loss behavior technical models showing the statistic areas of probability of locating Chelsea Grimm. This data is based off the statistical analysis of hundreds of thousands of searches and rescue missions, and this is a model data set used by virtually every law enforcement SAR team worldwide. Of course, it's only as good as valuable input about the missing person and put them in the right category. The category I use is despondent, includes unaliving. However, we do not believe that that is the motive here. It is mentioned in any statistic because this is part of the subset of the category. Data is going to be critical of finding Chelsea. Yes, there are models for abduction, but I will exhaust this model before changing the mission tactical brief unless clear and convincing evidence provides otherwise. Let's hope today is the day." So I'll go into the models here, and I'll enlarge this so you can see them.
Yeah. So this was the first day I was actually going back. I had gone for 4 or 5 days, just on my own, and I'd actually come back to California, and then they, Kelly, the lead PI, brought me on board and asked me to come back. And so this was arriving back in Williams. These are this is called lost person behavior.
Sure.
It's what it is every SAR team, search and rescue team, virtually every search and rescue team uses these models, and they're developed by this guy named Robert Kester, who's the only PhD in search and rescue there is, and he got a few large grants from Homeland Security to go out and get all this back data from search and rescue missions, hundreds of thousands of missions. And in fact, now whenever we run missions, we submit them to Robert Kester's foundation, and they become part of the new data sets. And what they did, there's been so many different types of rescue missions that we can go in and plug in that, like that was the despondent model. So when I plugged in all of the variables that I knew of her, that was the one it said to use, and it'll show that people in that subset tend to, because you see repeating patterns all the time. And search and rescue, and especially like in with missing person PI work as well. Like I'm certified in autistic search and rescue, and 84% of the time you'll find autistic people by the water, and there's all these repeating patterns. So we rely on these, and it tells us where best what are then from there probabilities of detection and zones, and so that's what this was doing. And I think it gave me a 2.3 mile, saying that she would be within 2.3 mile radius of the car on a linear line with the car, meaning she probably walked out on that road and within 100 yards on each side of the dirt road. I think that if I remember it right, that's what it came down to.
Sure, yeah. So here you have something in pencil. It says S not believed to be motive, and you guys can all read that word.
I put this out on Twitter.
Sure.
Wanted people to know because it does mention that in the model, but that's just part of that despondent model, meaning that there was known mental health, possibly mental health issues, and
Sure.
again, these when we go on these missions, these search and rescue missions are so dependent on families giving the data. The questionnaires that go along with these are pages and pages and pages long. I mean, it gets really, really in the weeds. And, when you go missing, I'll tell you, you lose all your privacy, if you want help from search and rescue and even from the public. So a lot of times they just want to hold back stuff or they won't be truthful. Then it's less data that goes into the model and it just sends us the wrong direction. So this is based off what we had.
Sure. So you highlighted here, despondents are most likely to be found on a trail, path, or destination. In many cases, they simply walk out. Let me just pause really quick. Everybody, I really appreciate all the text messages, the social media messages right now. It's really hard to do a show when my phone is just blowing up. If you have a question, we're going to get to that at the end. Let's save those for the end because my phone is just going wild right now and I can't be rude. I have a guest on the show, so I can't answer you. But if you have something, just type it in the chat. I would appreciate it. So if you want to talk a little bit about
I'm happy to answer all the questions, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So despondents are likely to be found on a trail, path, or the destination. In many cases, they simply walk out. And you said those, you highlighted those seeking scenic or significant locations are willing to travel. Viewpoints are common destinations. However, once they reach their location, they will still be just out of sight. No despondent subjects are truly lost. Subjects are often found at an interface or two types of terrain. It is rare to find them in thick brush or briars. They really respond to searches.
Yeah. And so far, I think a lot of that has held true. I think, she actually, even just where her car was left was even though I think it was, truly disabled, but where she went, for her camp, which I'm not going to disclose the exact camp.
Sure.
But where she went for her camp, was a totally different type of environment than like FR6 is or FR124. So she was thinking that, and I think there was some things that were drawing her attention. I think at night, those wind turbines.
Yeah, this turbine. Yeah, wind turbines.
It up. It's so dark out there at night. It's a great place if you want to watch stars and stuff. But it was cloudy that first night. In fact, it rained, and that she was out there, and it is dark. And so I think that those wind turbines would really draw her in. And it was clear to me from having the ability that I had searched the car by the time I'd come back, and I knew some things that she's very artistic and visually oriented, and I just felt that was something that would draw her in.
Sure. So what are these tables that we're looking at?
So those, okay. So what these are saying is that on a linear path, 25% of the people are going to be found within 30 meters of the linear path. In other words, so a linear path here would be that road, right? That she was on, and then 50% would be found within 50 meters. And then I was going out to the 75% line. I know Coconino County, looking over there, they went to the 25% line.
25, yeah.
I went to the 100 meters on each side, and then it's just showing that of those people that are recovered, 50% will be uninjured, 15% will be injured, 36% will be a fatality, and then it's the next ones get kind of depressing because they go into after a certain amount of hours what the odds are that they'll be alive, and they after 72 hours only 19% of people will be found alive.
Wow. So we'll bring
And that's
these up.
why search and rescue and getting data and getting that to search and rescue is as quickly as possible is so important. And that's also why search and rescue rarely goes over 72 hours.
Yeah, it's like almost like when you watch like those shows on TV, the homicide cases, first 48, where it's the most critical time in an investigation. And it is. I mean, the sooner you can get out there and get information out there, the sooner that someone, this could be solved or someone could be found. And, here we are 2 months later, and we don't know where this young lady is. And it's just heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah. And search and rescue has its limitations. It's not search and recovery, it's search and rescue. So there has to be a probability that the person is still within the search zone and still alive, and before we do a stand down, and so that's why it usually that is 48, 72 hours. Like places like Alaska, they'll go up to 7 to 9 days. But after that, then it's private. They might, like on a training mission, they might go out and do search. They're breaking in new dogs or something like that, or whatever. But they're not after that point. Unfortunately, they don't look. It's just like the Coast Guard, like know that somebody can't live in the water that long, and they unfortunately have to call it off. But that's why there's groups like my group, and there's groups like EquiSearch and others that do extended searches and now that does change if it's known to be a crime. If it's a crime, they will utilize search and rescue, usually at the request of the medical examiner's office or sometimes criminal investigation division. They'll use us for evidence and for body search. But when there's not a crime, and this has not been designated a crime,
categorized crime. So you got dry areas. You went out. Looks like there's a percentage here. Structure 26%, road 24%. If you could talk a little bit about that there.
Yeah. So this is just in those finds of that model's built on that they're saying 26% of the time people are going to be found by a structure, 24% by a road. We knew that structure was probably not going to be the case here. It was road, or it was going to be brush or field. It said earlier that a despondent that usually does not want help or is paranoid and will refuse help, which we know now is the case. And so they're usually not receptive to searchers, so they'll actively hide also. So, but that's where dogs and drones and stuff come in handy. And then in that case, if we find them, then we bring in a crisis response specialist, and that will talk with them, and because we don't want them to think we're chasing them or hunting them.
So you got here more in that despondent tab, and you're talking about some of the areas of flat and dry areas. It looks like you have a thing at 7. You went out 75%.
So I went to 75% line, which was 2.3 mile arc. I know that in Coconino counties, they said that they went to the 25%, and I think it was like 0.43 mile arc. Which makes sense. I just being private, I didn't know how long we were going to be there, and I figured we could cover more area. That ended up being wrong, but so I wanted to go to the 2.3 mile arc.
And then you have here, it says dry areas uphill 57%, and you have a note that says self-service seeking.
So most people think that like when they're up in the mountains, most people will automatically go downhill, but when they're if a person doesn't have cell service, which we know there is, it's people tend to actually climb uphill
to a high point,
to seek a signal. Although she was kind of at a crest, so that was a tricky one. And I knew she had AT&T. People that have Verizon, actually where her car was, actually were getting service here and there. AT&T didn't, but there's like you can get intermittent service if you walk around, but it's really sketchy.
All right, we'll move on here. Okay, so now the big question. This has come up in all the Facebook groups. Everybody can't stop talking about it. Maybe you can shed some light on this today. Is this Chelsea Grimm's clothes?
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, yeah. So she took. So when I got her camera, um, I'm pulling them up right now.
Sure.
She staged these pictures. She put these up in. Uh, she took from the time she got to that cemetery in Williams till the last picture. She took a little over 400 pictures
Mm-hmm.
on her Canon camera, and she those pictures were taken on uh,
September 30th.
September 30th, I think at like 9:01 or something in the morning. There's like 7 of them of different angles, but they were
Interesting.
staged kind of like you might see for like Poshmark or something like that.
Right.
She was staging a lot of different type of photos,
Wow.
not necessarily all clothes, but a lot of even very intricate setups.
Sure. How far was this from her car? A lot of people wanted to know that. How far was this display from her car?
That's about 2.2 miles down or I should say down up an incredibly rough road.
Wow.
How she doesn't have 4 flat tires, I have no idea.
Hmm.
She went off of Forest Road 6 to the east, so kind of turning away from where her car was found, and went towards the tree line and went down. There's not a, it's like an ATV. There's like an ATV kind of trail there
Sure.
because there is a water tank way back there, but it is. It's also a drainage ditch. It's incredibly jagged rocks, and so I don't know how the car got back there.
Wow.
Oh, without or how it got out with just 2 flat tires.
Wow. Let me just pause really quick. I'm just going to recognize this super chat. So Carrie H says, learning so much. Thank you, Steve, for coming. Everybody's loving you being here. And Paula gifted out a membership. Thank you so much, Paula. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think this was a big topic of conversation. Once it hit, I saw it hit some of the Facebook groups. And once I released the body cam footage, I mean, this was all being talked about. And I said, well, we'll just wait for Steve. I know he's going to have the solid answer on this. So you believe this is her clothes and she had been staging.
Well, it's clothes that she staged and took pictures of.
Right.
I imagine she just found them out there. They're women's
Right.
clothes. She took it from several different angles, like
Sure.
fanning out in different ways and stuff. So I definitely think that that probably hers. Now why she left them there, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just odd.
Yeah. It makes me wonder what else is out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, really. All right, we'll move on here. So we just wanted to talk about some of the tire damage. Obviously, everybody knows about this, but this is a photo that Steve actually, you took this photo, correct?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is at the, I didn't release it until after the,
body cam.
When you released the body cam that showed, because a lot of people, listen, and I get it. They had every reason to wonder if the tires were slashed or it was and it's the most valid question there is. And I knew that answer even before I had been retained by Kelly to come back and do the search and rescue, because I had inspected the car before. I just as a favor, I inspected the car on when I was up there on my own dime, and it was kind of shocking. Now, it was shocking to see the shape they were in, but it was also clear there was a couple of Department of Transportation experts there, and they looked at it for me, and they said it's, they were not together either. They said it's totally consistent with rock, the front one was really bad, the rear one was really bad, and then there was this fender damage, which was really like, wow, okay, so what happened here? Did somebody like run her down? Did somebody? But and that was to me it looks like it's been backed into, because the way that like she backed into something is the way that very front fender's not yet there is not like bent, but it's caved
All
in.
right here, it's all caved in. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then there was actually sticks or from twigs from trees that were impaled like in the back. But so this was kind of a mystery until we got the camera. And then I saw on the camera, she's taking pictures at the cemetery in Williams, and that damage is already there. So this did not happen
Really?
in the forest.
Oh,
These are separate events.
wow.
Yeah.
The way I look at it too is like she rode those tires for a long time like that. I mean,
Well,
that's not just happening in a mile. I mean, those are blown out. They're run flats and they're run down. I mean, that's
well, so something that I did not know, and and this is something that I was trying to find out is I know that PJ put out in the original GoFundMe that the car was out of gas. When I went to inspect the car, the first thing we tried to do was see
Start it.
if the car had gas in it. But she had locked the car, turned the alarm on, and taken the key with her. So before I was even there yet, and I asked the sergeant who's the head of search and rescue, I said, was there fuel in the car? He said, we made forced entry into the car, and he's like, the car alarm went off, so we know the battery isn't dead. But since she took the key, we couldn't turn the ignition, so we don't know, and we couldn't get a reading. And when I went to the police impound yard, I did the same thing. I tried and hit the ignition, and the alarm went off, and we couldn't get a fuel reading. So that was a mystery, and I was hoping that the money, the $150, whatever, would be spent to rekey the car, so we could turn that on and find that out, because that was kind of a critical thing, and also get the infotainment system out, the crash data recorder and stuff, to see if because at that time we didn't know if she was blown or not, to see if like the passenger side airbag was armed or not, and to see a lot of variables that the computer will tell you, like ignition, how many ignition starts there were. But we find out when I got a copy of the full report, like you did, that
it was out of gas.
She told the woodcutter was out of gas, or no, the hunter.
I feel like we're playing, like, it's funny, and I don't want to make a joke out of this, but it's like a weird game of Clue that we're playing.
Yeah.
Like, it's the woodcutter with the axe and
and there's 3 woodcutters.
Yeah.
So, and I understand that created a lot of confusion at the beginning, because the woodcutters I was dealing with, there's 3 different woodcutters that she encountered, or that encountered the car. And so that created some confusion, but it's when they're just referred to as woodcutters.
I know, you're like, who?
Yeah.
Just want to pull this up really quick. I got a $10 super chat. AZ, thank you so much. Says, when you want to find your way back to the spot in the woods, you observe that spot from all angles before leaving it, so it will be able to recognize it from all angles upon your return.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that obviously this is an unplanned event by her, having these tires and fuel situation. I think that, which I'm sure we'll get into, it'll show more of that. I think there was a fear, especially of men, going on in her mind, and I don't think she was comfortable accepting help. That's just my opinion. And ultimately, she sat there, and that where the car broke down, she sat there for at least 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I guess deciding what to do, but she also got out of the car at some points, and
Came back. She left and came back.
Yeah, because there's people that came by around 4, so she wasn't in the car, and then she's in the car. I see her in the car at 5:51. There's selfies, so I think she saw. You could see she's in where the car was, is like this plateau.
Sure.
It's like a big meadow,
Yeah.
and you can see if cars are coming from quite a ways. So I think what happened is, like, there's people that have been super helpful, like Bill Secker, who was up there calling out with his grandson, who drove by, and she wasn't in the car, but I think that's because she saw them coming and like got up, left, and I think she did the same with the hunters when they came back 10 minutes later and whatnot. And then I think she made a decision, I think she contemplated for a long time, I guess, what to do. And then at night, maybe made that decision to hike out.
Which is terrible to do that at night,
Yeah, I mean, it would have, I wish, whatever this fear is going on, which I get, because women get abused and they have this trauma, and well, not just women, it's women and men, but I mean, this domestic
Yep.
it creates this trauma, and then they're afraid to death, and it made more sense for her to take this risk than to ask those guys for help. And that's sad. It's not her fault. It's sad that she had this happen in her life.
Yeah. Oh boy, it's like, come on, Chelsea, where are you? We just want to find you and get you back home. It weighs heavily on me. I mean, every day I get up and think about, when my 2 feet hit the ground in the morning, I literally look up and I go, all right, Chelsea, where are you?
Listen, I think, there's been a lot of drama that's gone on in this case, and a lot of, it's turned into one of these, which I'm used to, and it kind of follows me around, from the Kylie Rodney situation. People just don't, people like to do this, but they don't seem to realize that this is a real person we're talking about. And I, people can say what they want, but I genuinely care. And the reason I've said some things I've said is because I want her found, and I want search crews up there. And I assume that this search crew is up there, and they have been up there the last 2 weeks. And I'm hoping that they're getting close. But we haven't heard anything. And I know the local searchers who listen. I want to say, by the way, when I went up there the first time, I went and searched when I went to search the vehicle at the police impound yard. There's really no answers to anything at that point. And so when they were getting the car ready for me to, or they were getting, somebody was coming with the keys to the impound part she was in, the lock.
Sure.
And I was talking to the receptionist there at the impound, and I said, does anybody have anything to do who the woodcutter is? Because I love to talk to the woodcutter. And the people in Williams and Ashfork are I hear these stories about all these crazy people, and there's cartels and stuff up there. These are the nicest people in the world. They just want to help. And they gave me the number of this guy Curley, who's former sheriff. And then I had seen, I'm on Facebook, but I just really have a dummy account, because you have to have one to have a page, in which I never really check it. But in this case, I was looking at some stuff on the Coconino County, and I ran across this woman Julie and this other woman Diane, and I saw them talking, and I touched base with them. And when I got to when I got back, they had hired me and brought me back. I got to the impound yard at just because time to me. So I got there like 7:30 in the morning, and Curley had said he could introduce me to the woodcutter. So I said, "Hey man, I'm back in town." Or I called him. I said, "Hey, I'm back in town. I'm at the I don't want to say the name of the place."
Sure.
And he's like, "Okay," and he kind of hung up the phone, and I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then 10 minutes later, this guy comes pulling up. He's like, "Hey, I'm Curley," and then he's like, he made some calls, and it was like 8 at the time. He's like, "All right, 9:00 at the Legion club, or the Legion, what's the veterans, the Legion, American Legion, or whatever.
American Legion,
at the clubhouse.
Yep.
He'll be there at 9:00.
Post,
I went there like 9:00, and like these 10 or 12 people, guys and men and women in 4-wheel drives, all showed up, and we sat around the circular table, and I spoke with this woodcutter that saw the car, and he also saw a camp that he believed could have been hers, that had a fire burning, but there was nobody attending to it, so that kind of upset him. So he got out and yelled at this peach-colored tent, and there was some wrestling around in the tent, so he left it alone, and he left. But anyway, so we talked. He gave me the whole story, and then I was like, okay. And
Excuse me.
everybody was they talked about how they had been up there searching but didn't know the coordinates and stuff, and which I had. And next thing I know, they're like, "Hey man, we're here to help." But next thing I know, there's a caravan of like 8 of us in 4-wheel drives heading out to the search zone. And then um, Julie and Diana, who had been searching almost every day, they're locals, and they had even brought horses in.
Wow.
They meet us up at the top where the car was. The next thing I know, I mean, I didn't even have to ask. I mean, there was like 15 of us.
Wow.
And it was like, and you know, they're former law enforcement, and they're and they're just like,
we want to help. Yeah.
Let's find her, you know, like, let's go. And I mean, and in each day, those people showed up, and they, you know, and then you know, I left, and they continued. I think they've standed down now, but they continued to search, and they were searching before I was, and they don't have any, they're just, it's somebody in their community that lost, and they're up there. So those people, I know people have been giving them shit in the Facebook groups and stuff, and I know
weird.
So some of them left, but and they're not searching anymore, but they did a hell of a job. And I still talk to them every day, and also the ranch owners. I just want to mention real quick. There's this guy Benny Aha that owns a majority of the land to the north, but there's these guys that own land called the 55, and a couple of the ranch owners that want to know what we're doing out there, because but once we told them, they literally gave us keys to the guard gates to their outbuildings.
Amazing.
They're like, whatever you need.
Wow.
Here's our my number. Here's my ranch hand's number. They're the guy from 55 by the Frenchman tank was like, I'll have my horses up here tomorrow for you guys. Like, they're like super helpful. And that's why when I put that tweet out, like when I was leaving, when they decided to bring another group in, I was like, I hope that they maintain that goodwill with ranchers and stuff, because they, now, you know, I don't think that's happened, but because they're all like now not searching anymore, but which is fine. I mean, that the new group can search the way they want, but I just want to say they were super kind people, and they really were doing it. Was like, anything you need, will awesome. You know, and same with all the hunters that were out there, because they did not like the fact that I was out there flying a drone. The hunters were like, scaring the elk away and stuff, but then once I told them what we're doing, they're like, cool. They're like, yep, go for it, man. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think for me, like really quick, I think for me was when I read about this and started to kind of investigate, I said, oh man, this could get really ugly, you know. And obviously I've been following the Idaho 4 case. I'm sure you've heard about it, and just all the ugly stuff that's happened surrounded that, and all the conspiracy theories. And I'm like, this young lady doesn't deserve that. So if I can get out ahead of it, get the case file and the information out there, the body cam footage, at least cut down some of that conspiracy. And I still know people are running with it, because you know, the thing is, Steve, that bothers me is that people, I feel like when these cases pop up, and believe me, I don't want anything out of it. I just want her to come home. That's the bottom line, is what I want here. And I think what happens in those groups is when facts come out, the gatekeepers, what I call them, is like the gatekeepers like, oh shit, he's screwing our narrative up. So it can't be, you know, like, but how about this? And I challenge the people in those groups, put some positive energy towards it, do some positive investigating instead of going off conspiracy theories, and go out there. And then, you know, I heard a lot of shit too. People giving shit for what I was doing. People were giving you shit. And I'm like, look, if you don't approve of what Steve's doing or what I'm doing, buck up, strap up your boots, and go out and help, or do it, you know, attain the case file and you figure it out, you know.
I mean, first of all, a lot of them are, you know, like a same person with,
it's like armchair quarterbacking, I call it.
Yeah, but I mean, they want the conspiracy theory. They don't want they don't realize that this is, they realize it, but they don't care that this is a real person with a real family.
Because they don't have to stand in front of them, Steve. That's why.
Right. And what they want is they see this as entertainment.
Yeah.
And it's not.
No.
And you know, when the fact that they blocked everybody, the family, me,
gross.
It just shows they're a fictional group. They mean nothing, and they shouldn't even take any of our time. However, it's something that it also follows me around, and it has since the Kylie Ronnie case because of a dispute with a country singer named Ryan Upchurch,
Sure.
and he's got 3 million loyal followers. So they like to go around and give me shit. But the thing is, they're just never right. They can't prove me wrong on anything, and it's like, and it upsets them too. And then they'll pick on everybody, in their orbit. And then they've come to the point where they just close their groups down and like just do it and have their little private chats, and which is fun. Let us, because I mean, it did used to bother me cases and cases ago, but it truly, like, I get a lot of people that DM me like, oh, screenshots, like, look, they're saying, and I just tell them,
Okay.
There's no reason to send me these anymore. There's no reason. I don't care, because the thing is, I'm results driven, and it's gonna sound really cocky, but I mean, I've got more fines than any other organization in 2023. Period.
Well, you got more fines than any of those people that are armchair quarterbacking. So that's some pride to have pride in that, Steve. And I really appreciate what you're doing. And I'm glad that you've opened up that gateway to me so we can have conversation about it. Cause I really am invested. Like, I just want to find this young lady and bring her back home.
She needs to be found, because weather elements coming up out there. And if she's not off the grid,
right.
If there was if something went wrong, if she truly got lost, which I think is a possibility, then just for dignity's sake and closure, she needs. I hate to think of her being there till spring, until things thaw out, and then have cruise God again. And I hope I don't know. I mean, I just hope that there is a big effort going on right now. Like, they're not in the search zone. I know that we were searching it. Maybe they have new information, but I know from the ranch owners and stuff that they're not out there. So they must be working in a different area. But I just, there's not that many days left. So I hope they find her.
Well, Philip Brenner's here. PJ's here.
Good.
It's in the chat. PJ, let's drop the link and have you come on. Real quick, John says, Steve, you did good, mate. So you got some goods up. PJ, if you want to join the chat, I'll drop the link for you, and I'll do that. You can come in, but Steve and I are going to continue. If you want to pop up at the panel, I'll bring you on. If you don't want to show your face, at least show your face to me before I bring you on so I can verify you're there. And if you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to, but at least we can get some audio and you can join the conversation. All right, let me pull up this. We'll keep going through our presentation here. We'll give him some time. So let's talk a little bit about this. I found this to be interesting. You made some marks here as you were kind of measuring things out, and I think this is really good for the audience to see this as well.
So this is like more. Listen. This was taken. This photo was actually taken by the person, the couple that called the car in.
Sure.
They're called the hunters too. That's a different hunters than the ones that approached her. But they saw the car like on the second and the fourth or fifth, or whatever, and they called it in saying it's been here. And I know who they are. And actually, Julie got me these pictures from them. So, but when I was looking at them, I was just, when tires are blown out like that, all the rubber is no longer supporting anything. The rim is going to leave some sort of groove, and even if it didn't, like, you can see under, like, where most green lines are, you can see somebody else's, like, just tire tread track, but there's nothing behind her. There's a footprint, but there's no like grooves at all. I found that really curious. It almost looks like the car was like backed up to that spot.
Right.
There is and it's not worth spending that much time on, because I don't think it's a huge factor, but there are a couple of her last photos where it appears she's much closer to the cattle guard, because she did, and I'll just say it because it's in the public reports. I won't show the pictures because they didn't. But in her last photo, she did take pictures of the woodcutters in the side view mirror, and there's somewhere it looks like they're actually near the spot where her car ended up. It's the only signpost out there, which is also odd. There's a signpost that would be on her driver's side car, it's the only one up there, and she was parked right next to it. And then in these rear view mirror shots, it looks like they're next to it. So I don't know if she like backed up at some point or what. It's nothing nefarious. It was just curious to me.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been leaving a groove in the. And this is something I've talked to like Bill Secker and some other people that live up there about. And they're like that deal with this, like because flat tires are very common up there.
Sure.
They're like, car should have left. The other thing is I walked this road looking just for pieces of rubber transfer because they were shredded, and we didn't find a single piece of rubber.
Didn't you say you had something about this fence line that you might want to
Well,
talk
that's
about?
what I was saying. Like, there's somewhere she's a lot closer. It looks like she's a lot closer, and there is a shot with a different focal length because she's using the zoom thing. But I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I don't think it's that. I don't think it proves anything. It just kind of think that there's no tire tracks there, and I was just trying to figure out why. But it also had been sat there for a while. But it's not like it would cover them over, and because the one that's under the middle of the vehicle
here, yep,
it's still preserved,
right?
So I don't know.
Interesting. So it looks like PJ is not going to jump on. I've dropped my phone number to call in if you don't want to jump on. We're going to move on with the show. So I'm not going to get distracted by that anymore. I've given his opportunity. We want to hear from him. So, okay. So let's talk about the to-do list. There was a lot of questions about this. So I'll just read here from the police report. If anybody wants to get the case report, it's right there. It's S2303352. You can get it's a public records request. You can get that yourself. If not, you can come here and check it out on LTL True Crime. So among the other personal items retrieved from the vehicle was a to-do list, which is dated 9/27/23 and showed a list of 9 items. The items were listed below. A copy of this list was added to the report. So 1, coffee/cigs. 2 was pack. 3, meditate, and that was crossed out, and read Bible. 4 was pack car. 5 was pay for motel. 6 was makeup and hair. 7 was start a plan. That was crossed out. 8 was baptism, renew self in the Lord. And then number 9 was start a plan or paper.
I'm looking at the actual handwritten notes. It's start a plan on paper.
On paper. Okay.
Yeah. And when they say crossed out, she actually like number 3 is it says 3 meditate / read Bible. She's scratched out meditate like she had done that.
Got it.
7 start a plan, scratched out as I assume if she started it. And then she switched numbers 8 and 9 where she made 8 number 8 baptism and number 9 start a plan on paper.
Now you have a picture of this list, right?
I actually found the actual. It's a torn out. It's a piece of paper. It's torn out, very jagged edges, but it says to do 9/27/23. It's kind of got lines under it, and yeah.
Wow. All right, we're going to move on here to the biggest question that has popped up that I see in all my comment section is the Hindu man. I'm not trying to be insensitive to anybody. This was on the police report, so those are not my words. It was in the police report. So I'm just being factual here to the record. So it actually talks about the Siegelman, Arizona, when she checked in or tried to check in on the 28th. We're going to get a little bit into that a little bit more here in about another 2 slides. We should be there. So we'll pause on that. But the most interesting thing that has come up recently, and everybody's asking a lot of questions, is this here. And I'll just read it for everybody. And then if you want to chime in what you think or if you have any context to it. So I contacted blank on 10/17 who reported hunting in the area where Chelsea was missing. Blank was hunting in the area with his wife. Blank this week on 9/25 through 9/29. He advised he was driving on Forest Service Road 124 at approximately 1100 on 9/29. He passed a small white Ford SUV he believed to be Chelsea's. He stated he observed a, quote, Hindu male sitting in the driver's seat who appeared to be on a cell phone. He also observed a white female he believed to be Chelsea walking towards an elk just south of the vehicle. He stated that the car appeared to be in good working order, and though they were possibly hunters, The vehicle was approximately 20 feet from Farm State 124. At approximately 8:30 hours on the 29th, he and his wife were driving back down 124 road. They observed the vehicle in the same location with both doors open. He could not recall for sure if he believed the rear hatch was open. He stated nothing stood out of strange and continued driving. I later contact who was reporting the hunting area, Camp FS 6A. He advised approximately 1100 hours on 9:30. He was driving basically a single white female to believe you Chelsea, drivers open, and apologized for blocking the roadway. So if you want to give maybe some context to this.
Yeah. So all right, this one's baffling. So again, Julie, who I can't tell you
Sure.
huge help she's been, she told me that she was aware of these people who witnessed Chelsea in this meadow, which would be off 124, which is down lower. So I got in touch with them, and I had them on speakerphone.
You said that I'm sorry to cut you off. So she was, when this spotting was, this was just kind of the entrance to go into the park, right?
It's not a park, but I mean the forest. So
forest. I'm sorry.
This road actually just starts turning into a dirt road, and it
right.
Forest Service 124. I wouldn't say it's at the beginning, but it's not that far in. I'm going to guess 5 miles, 6 miles in, something
sure.
like that. And so she got me in touch with this couple, and I called them, and it was late at night, and they were on speakerphone, and they said, it was the opening day of youth elk hunting season.
Yep.
And so they had their them, and they also had another adult in the back seat, and they said that they were going up 124, and in this pasture area they saw the white SUV pulled off, and that the doors were open, and that they saw a female about 150 yards away from the car in the pasture, but they didn't think much of it because they said there was a really big bull elk out there, and somebody taking pictures. But they said that there was they told me either a Indian or Hindu looking male in the driver's seat talking on the phone.
Interesting.
So took that information, and the next day, a search, I went there early and looked for the general area, looked for the area. Then I sent him some pictures saying, is this there? And he's like, a little bit further, west. And then I flew a drone over the area, but there was nothing super conclusive until I got the camera. And when I got the camera, I'm looking at some of the pictures now. 6:52 a.m. She's taking, and she's taking them earlier, but I'm looking at one at 6:52 now. She's taking one in the exact spot he's described.
Wow.
The exact spot. And actually, the one picture that has been used a lot by like Coconino County, and I think you even had it at the beginning here, where it's Chelsea and the car's behind her, and it's like throwing a hard shadow on the car.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a way of pulling that up. That's from this area, and you can actually see behind her her two tire.
Is it this one here?
Oh,
hang on. Shit. Let me just bring the presentation back up. Sorry. Let's
see. I think it was in the presentation.
Yeah. Let me bring it back up. Is it that one there?
No, it's one where she's like, it's like the car's behind her. Like she's almost up against the side of the car.
I've seen it. I know the one you're talking about. I don't have it saved.
So
unfortunately.
So that you can actually see her two tire marks going off the road, where you can tell she just dived into the meadow. But so then it was exactly where these people said it was. So then you go, okay, so how can you discount the male being in the car?
Right.
Because what the spot they told me dead on accurate. And but I mean, I've gone through every photo, There's been man tracking done, meaning looking for second sets of footprints and stuff. She had stuff stacked up in the passenger side. I can't. I'm not saying is listen. I can't say these people aren't accurate, because they were completely accurate on this. But I don't have anything that puts another person there. But it's something that eats at me for sure.
Well, before we get to the next slide about the hotel check-in with Euros, and we're going to talk about some security footage that you had gotten from that. And I have a couple of questions. Where's the car now? Do you know where her SUV is now?
I don't know if they've done anything with it. When I left, it was still in the police impound, and I know it will go up for auction at a certain time. But they may have gotten it out of impound. I don't know. I don't have any contact with them anymore. So I don't know. I hope to God they've gotten it out. They've got it reignitioned or rekeyed so they can verify
that telemetry.
That they can take the infotainment system out. They can crash data recorder out. They can take that car also has the Ford whatever link or whatever that is a free service. So the app, if she had the app downloaded, it'll show you all the ignition starts and stops.
That'd be valuable.
I assume they've pulled all that weeks ago, but
can you talk about the condition of the SUV when you first got to see it in impound?
Yeah, it was a mess, but most of that was from what they call being tossed. It had search and rescue had searched it up there, and then they also had a forensic person come down to the impound that did print the fingerprints and did DNA swabs. I mean, they also searched lots of, so they didn't put everything back together. So when I went in, it was just torn apart, and but there was stuff that wasn't them. Like there was like cigarettes put out directly in the cup holders, and there was a lot of like weird. I don't want to get into it, but it wasn't clean. But I have seen those pictures that the hunters provided, the second set of hunters, the people that called it in, they provided some pictures, and I can see from those that it's actually pretty neatly packed inside. So it's not like we thought it originally was.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the next slide here. And before we bring that up, I'll do this, bring us back on screen. Just to preview everybody, Steve has told me that the video that we're going to show was two videos that were spliced together, and he kind of cut out some of the information, but the most important information he wanted to highlight here today, and I agree with him. So let's talk a little bit before I pull that slide up about your investigation at that Slagelman Hotel in Arizona. How did you figure that out? What did you find when you got there? And can you tell me, how cooperative the owners were with you?
Yeah. When I when I was there doing the search, I had, it was there was no set period of time.
Right.
They had prepaid. They were doing like 4 days or 3 or 4 days hotel in advance or whatever. But I was covering expenses and then bill. So there was no like time frame. It was search and rescue, and so there was a lot of stuff that obviously I wanted that thought should be done, like getting loves was a big question. The motel we kind of thought was not we didn't think it was accurate, to be honest with you, but then based on the receipts in her car, there was a gas station in Williams, and that had like a really important handwritten note on it, and there were some other things that I wanted to clear up. And then and again, this is going to sound like I'm bitter about it. It's their decision to do. Obviously, it's frustrating because I thought we were making progress, but another search group was suggested, and as soon as that was suggested, about an hour later, they said, that's all we're doing. And so, but we hadn't gotten in the, I hadn't even shipped the evidence to them yet. So I did that the next day on my own dime. But they, so what I did is I stayed another day, and I just went to these because I was like, this, there's a lot of answers that can be, a lot of questions that can be answered here, with a little bit of time, because, I was up in the search grid all day. So I went to, I went to Love's and I met with the GM there, and he took me in the surveillance room and showed me that was not Chelsea. It was another woman that was known to them. It was a transient, and it was a worker there that was posting on Facebook, but didn't mean any harm. She thought it was Chelsea and was trying to help, and ended up it wasn't. But there was a lot of bad information about that. And then I went to gas station, and that was again, I can't really give the contents of what was handwritten on that note, but I think that's a key to it, a key to this mystery for sure. And I wish I could disclose it. And then I went to Seligman. I went to several other businesses. I went to Seligman, and I didn't know what motel, but I just based on there was a sign out front of this one, and I just figured that would attract her. And so I went there, and I said, because we didn't even know if that was true. We heard about the Seligman Euros thing. We didn't, at this point, we didn't know anything about the Euro. If the Euros, we thought it was a made up thing. And I went, this lady came out of the office, and I said, this is going to sound like a crazy question if it isn't true, but did somebody try to pay for the Euros? And she's like, she asked who I was and stuff. And she's like, come in, and super helpful. And she showed me, first of all, she told me the whole story before she showed me the video. And her husband was there too. The guy that you see in the, she's the owner, but the guy in the video is her husband. And, he's from Holland. So the Euros thing wasn't all that weird to them.
Right.
And she told me, she's like, it's very common for people here to have Euros because it's all European tourists that time of year going to the Grand Canyon. She's like, it's just, you don't get people wanting to pay in Euros. And but she, the thing is, she was kind of on their radar before she pulled in, and she sat. It's a small motel, and it's got like a horseshoe parking lot in the interior, and the check-in things at the end. And she sat in the car for 30 or 40 minutes when she pulled in. So that kind of like got their attention. They're watching her on surveillance, just wondering what was going on, because they noticed the car was filled too. And then she finally came in, and this this is a missing persons case, right? And it's search and rescue, and it should not be turning into what it's turning into. But PJ and Elias have both tried to say that I won't take their calls, and like, when I talked, PJ's hung up on me twice when I hit the record. I told him I'm recording the call. He hangs up on me, and he sends me these long emails. But he wants to be in charge of the search and rescue. He thinks he knows the answers. He knows her best. He's not certified in search and rescue. Incident command system takes a lot of training. There's a lot of people that you can get killed out there. There's a logic to this. There's technology, and all I wanted from him was answers about Chelsea, because the more I could understand about her, the more I could put into the lost person
profile, right? And get a profile of her, right?
That would give me the best chance to find her, and to give Coconino County the best chance. But to this day, he's told me he's writing a book, and he's got to do this and that, and then once he gets enough money to hire his own PI, that he'll get back to
the GoFundMe account that's still active.
But what I've done is I've really been trying to save his ass the whole time, because Chelsea is on the run because of him, and she makes that very clear, that she's running from a abusive ex. She puts that in text messages, and she specifically says his name. And then in the video, which you're about to see, where I went ahead, he told me today, he told me in a Facebook group, go ahead and play the audio then. I mean, okay.
All right, we're going to play it.
Exchanges I was trying to stay off the grid. I don't really want an ex to find me. 203. Actually, I grew up the same part. I just was leaving an abusive relationship, so I'm trying to not have any track. That's why I actually don't think this is a very good idea.
So she basically says, and I'll kind of narrate it, Or if
Yep.
you want to, Steve, I'll let you do it since you
Yeah.
just
So she says that, you know, I don't want an ex to find me. I mean, it's the big part of the first one. And then she says in the second, she's like, he asked her phone number and she says 203. And then she goes, oh, I threw out the SIM card, which she did. I know she threw out the SIM card in Wickenburg. And then she says, because I'm in an abusive relationship. So, and I know that I'm not even looking at the chat, but I know he's going to say, oh no, he's talking about a different boyfriend. But there's text messages. There's a group text message with a lot of text in it. And she's talking about him because she's talking about the 9 days before she left San Diego, where she's scared, you know, she hasn't slept in 9 days because she doesn't know if he's coming by that day to pick up his stuff and whatnot. But he's trying to say everything was great before that. So, and the thing that's so frustrating is that I know he didn't do something to Chelsea. I know he was not in California. It's in the report. He was, you know,
I'm going to answer one of my mods real quick. He says, how does Steve know she threw out the SIM card? She just said it in the video. I threw the SIM card out. I'm going to play the video again so everybody can hear it. We get it clear and loud up here so everybody can hear it. I know it's a little tough to hear because the audio is low. Steve had to record this on his phone. So I'm going to play it again. So if anybody wants to go back to listen to it, but she literally says in the video, I threw out the SIM card. She goes, never mind, I threw out the SIM card. So
when she says 203, she starts to say her
phone number.
The next thing she says is, never, I threw out the
SIM card. Right. All right, we'll play it again so we can hear it.
Unless you take euros, or anyone in town exchanges euros. I was trying to stay off the grid. I don't really want an ex to find me. 203. Actually, I threw out the SIM card. I just was leaving an abusive relationship, so I'm not having track. That's why I actually don't think this is a very good idea.
I threw out the SIM card because I'm trying not to be. I got out of abusive relationship. I threw out the SIM card. I'm trying not to be tracked. Essentially what you said.
Yeah. So I actually don't think this is a good idea. And that's when she, you know, the very first one I released is where she said, I actually don't think this is a good idea. She takes her debit card back. And so he can say what he wants, but what's so frustrating about it is he's interfering with the search and rescue efforts where a month or 6 weeks ago, we could have been out there when she's still alive, if she's in that search zone. And he's got no reason. Why? Just let us do our job. Like, why interfere? I know that he wasn't in Arizona because San Diego Narcotics Unit was surveilling him. And I'll just be honest, they were surveilling him and he was in San Diego that day. And they provided in the report.
Yeah.
Diego Narcotics Unit said he's under surveillance for other reasons. And he was in San Diego. So he didn't do anything to her. It's just really frustrating that he's interfering with the goddamn, you know, investigation and the search and rescue efforts when we could have made so much progress if he would just been giving us these answers and not start all this bullshit online. You know, and that goes on today. Now he's got groups that are buying into him and like, oh, the GoFundMe should have been. He had no business doing a GoFundMe. He does not need to be searching for her. You know, leave it to professionals to do. And you know, he was telling me, well, you're not going to get anywhere without the information I know. And then Elias was telling me, I've got videos that you have to see. You know, he's going to gas stations telling them, be on the lookout for a 2000 black Camry. Just all this crap that he's leaving around town. And it just muddies the waters, you know. And he's not being honest. And I tried to talk to him. I tried to say I didn't want to release that because I was like, you know, but he challenged me. He called me out on it. So he told me to release it, so I released it.
Again, you know, it's just, I wanted to get on top of this stuff, like I said, because I felt like it was going to spin out of control, like Idaho. There's so much conspiracy and so much bad things. People were like yelling at shaming the victims and the parents. And they're going, how dare can these parents go on, CNN and News Nation? All they want is to be on camera. I'm like, these are people, they're real people that lost their daughter and their son, their daughters and their son. And if I was, believe me, I don't have children, but if I did, I would be if that was that big of a case, I would be on the news every single day fighting for the truth for my daughter or my son to get that out there. And I saw this And I said, this is going to spin out of control. I cannot allow this to happen. So I got to get transparency out there and get as much information out as we can. And that's why I really do appreciate that you're doing this with me, Steve, because now we have full transparency in this case. We cut down the conspiracy and all the lies. And hopefully someone watches this and they see or hear something. They either get in touch with me, with you, or the Coconino Sheriff Department, and let's find Chelsea.
Literally like I'm out of the case. Call the Sheriff's Department or call Kelly, the investigator. Listen, Kelly, Kelly's great. I have no problems with Kelly whatsoever. He's doing his job. And the thing is, like, families, there's no playbook for this. And families never think they're going to go through a missing persons case. They don't know, like, hey, what is the best thing to do? Listen, I do have a different approach than most private investigators do. But the thing is, most private investigators, like, I only do missing person cases. Most private investigators are chasing cheating spouses and this and that.
Right. Excuse me.
I only do this, and I'm telling you, that's why I have 15 missing persons I've found in 2023 alone, is because I throw all the information out there. Unless, like, I'm working one right now, and that I know is a crime. I'm not going to do that. But if it's not a crime and they deemed early this was not a crime, go to page 1 of this report, and it shows it says right on there it's not classified as a now I can't even find the report, but it's there it is. It says severity non-criminal. It's a non-criminal case, and in that case, when you file a missing persons report, they put out a missing persons poster. That is a call to the public for help. And when you do that, you lose your anonymity. I'm sorry. I mean, like, it's just part of it. And some stuff's going to come out, but when the person's found, everybody's going to forget all that.
Yeah.
And, but it helps. We're not trying to get in your business, but it goes back to lost person behavior. There's repeating patterns and everything. When we see people with schizophrenia, we know they're hiding, and we know the types of places they're hiding in. When we see people with autism, we know that they're by water or they're by trains. And, when there's actually science behind this stuff, and people think we're getting in their business, and they're like, how dare you say that my daughter has mental health problems? It's important because there's not just us out there. Like, I knew there was 2 other search crews out there. I knew I didn't know them yet, but I knew they were out there, Julie, and I knew that the Curly's, the Legion Club was out there, and they need to have that information. Otherwise, they're just like wasting their time, and it's a race to find her alive. So that information helps, and keeping things super secret is just watch. This thing is gonna winner. First, I mean, this thing is fading away now, and it's a shame.
It's not going to, because I'm going to keep beating the drum here on LTL. It's not going to. I mean, I know I probably won't do the streams as frequent as he is, but I'm going to at least try to do one once a week and just keep reviewing this case and talking about it until Chelsea's home. And that's what we need to do. I'm not going to give up. Steve, do you mind taking a couple of questions from the audience? Okay.
And I don't, even the questions from people that don't like me, I feel free to throw them at me. I don't care. I mean, it's fine. I get it. Like, I'll answer them. They're done. Like, this stuff that's not in the public ether. I'm not going to, I am going to, even though I think that it should be released.
Sure.
The family, I'm not going to disrespect the family unless it's something that I think is, like, not really, going to infringe on them. But I do want to do what's best for Chelsea, but at the same time, there is a fine line there. Sure. For me, any missing person case I go into, I'm working for the missing person. If people don't want to pay me in the end because the tactics I took, that's fine. But the thing is, I find people, and
So let's do this. Let's take some questions for Steve. And then what I'd like to do, just after we do a kind of our Q&A, just to get a quick summary of maybe thoughts to what you think is going on, Steve. I'd love to hear from you and where you feel in this investigation at this point. If you all want to ask Steve a question, I think the most important thing to do, if you want your question to highlight and be brought out really quick, you can send it a small super chat. It will highlight the comment. We can go pull it up really quick. If not, type a Q and then your question. And then what I'll do is I'll pick ones out that I think and we'll pull them up on screen. We'll do this for a little bit here. So I have Candy with the first one that I see. She says, does Steve know why Chelsea's mom and dad aren't actively searching for her in Arizona?
I've never spoken to the mom and dad. I don't. I don't know. It's I heard a public comment that they said that the detective said that it wouldn't do any good for them to be there. Detectives are going to say that every time, because the fact is that the case is in non-active status now. Whether they want to believe that or not, it's not a criminal case. So unless they're only going to work on if they get new leads,
right,
new sightings. So the only time they're going to be out there. And I don't know. It's I do a lot of cases. First case I've ever been on that family hasn't been there, but I'm not knocking them for that. Maybe they feel that they can coordinate everything better from home base and whatnot. I assume they have this huge team out there now that they were talking about. So maybe that's taking you talk. So I'm not knocking it. I do think at some point they should go see the area, go see the train where their daughter was, and they'll have a better idea of like what her mindset was and everything.
Sure. So Brittany's asking, she has a question. She says, does Steve believe she's still in Arizona?
Yes.
Yeah, I think she is too.
I think she's still in the forest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Losing it.
I'm sorry?
I had some, like I put out that, we could be possibly cautiously optimistic. I'm just starting to lose that a little bit. I think I have a better idea. That doesn't mean I'm right.
Sure.
I'm not right in 100% of cases, but unfortunately, I think we have two kind of like parallel events that were kind of created a perfect storm, so. And I can get into that, I guess, at the end if you want. You said you wanted me to kind of.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your summary at the end.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I truly do. I hope I'm wrong.
So my moderator AZ is asking, was Steve working with the Phoenix PD at all?
No, I know that they're the lead agency on this, but I know there was obviously because the car was found up in Coconino County, there was mutual aid, which is pretty common. So. They're the ones Coconino's working it. Technically, though, it's a Phoenix case. I did not, and I deal with Phoenix on cases, so I'm familiar with their detectives and stuff, but I haven't talked to any of them. The only detectives I've talked to were Luna and the sergeant who's the head of
Dick. Sergeant Dick.
Dick, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Mary's asking, is it possible the ex-boyfriend had someone following her, like big narcotics?
So I don't know. I don't think so, because the sequence, so we can track her all the way from the only day we can't account for her the whole time is the 27th. The rest we've been able to account for her movements from the 24th, and then the 27th she gets up into Wickenburg. I can see the spot where she throws her SIM card out the window on US 60 out there Wickenburg, and that is where communication just stopped. I mean, it was she was texting some people on the way to Phoenix. She met with that friend in Phoenix who I've talked to, by the way, and there was a misunderstanding there because somebody tried to send a message saying it was for me and it wasn't, and they got caught. But and that person, she was completely forthcoming. She's distraught over this, but we don't know exactly what she was doing the 27th. She has that get baptized on her to-do list.
Yeah.
And so she was on
excuse me,
93. She goes through Wickenburg and then through Wickiup, and that would take you direct to there's a church there we think that she may have gone to in I forget the name of the city now, but it's also a straight shot to Vegas. And I will say that, because I don't think this is getting too personal, but I was able to see some of her Google searches. I was able to sync a phone, and it only synced didn't sync everything, but she did Google search Las Vegas, and she did Google search flights to Las Vegas from Phoenix to Las Vegas on October 16th.
That's interesting because October 16th.
Do I wait?
That would be a breakthrough right there.
No, well, she went missing on September 30th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were for the future. Yeah, they were for the future. So there was something in the future going on there. They were like 3 weeks out. You know,
it's odd that yeah, no, you're right. It's odd though too that Vegas, they had that supposed reported tip that came in at like she was at some gun show or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's just a coincidence. But yeah, you're right. It is odd. You know, she ran a couple other searches, and one of them was for a church where we think she might have gotten baptized, and that's her personal business. I don't think we need that. And then I'm looking at the searches right now. She searched her parents' address, her friend's address in Phoenix, public transit. So we can track her, and then she gets rid of the SIM card, and that's AT&T provided that, where the SIM card stopped tracking, and it's in the middle of a highway, and then that is truly overloaded, and that's also where she stops using, like she was using her debit card up till then, there was purchases from like dollar store and other motels, Expedia, and then she goes through Wickenburg, and I guess she decides that's the spot where she's like going off the grid, because
disconnect, right?
That she then goes to Seligman and is like, refuses to. Earlier in that video, she says that she's going to start using a different name, so. Yeah. And she keeps to it, because then she goes, that was at about 11 in the morning, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she goes to a gas station in Williams and goes inside and wants to pay in euros.
Yeah, that's the receipt.
They said, take euros. And so she walked out and she hit this guy up for money. Was standing outside, and the guy happened to be, I don't know if he's like the franchise owner or if he's like the GM of several of these stores, but he just gave her $10, and she went in, and then she went back inside and bought $10 worth of gas, and then she wrote this note, which I'm not going to disclose, but I do think that it plays into what was going on with the picture she was taking up in the forest. I do hope that's being explored more, and it's I think it makes sense. And so she wrote this note on there. So there we can place her at 4:10, and then at 8:40 ish is the body cam encounter the same day, at the cemetery. And I went to the cemetery and I found most of the stuff she was taking photos with on the ground still.
Right.
That's at 8:40. The cop leaves, and then at 10:35 or so, she pulls into somebody's property right before State Road 164 and goes into a drainage ditch.
Yep, that's on the report.
But pulls it deep into their property.
There's video of that. They have it in the evidence. There's video of that. I'd love to see it.
It's a very big property, and it's got a very long driveway. But I don't know if she thought maybe it was a hotel or a retreat center or something. But she pulls in, confused, I suppose, and it goes in a drainage ditch. They get her out of the drainage ditch, and then they tell her which way to go. She says she's going to Humphreys, which I don't know if she's talking about Flag or not. But then she sits at the end of the driveway, like she sat at the motel, thinking things over for a long time, like she sat at the cemetery thinking for a long time, and went right. And it was
completely opposite direction they told her to go in too,
into the forest. And it doesn't seem like, so this is the last house before the pavement turns into a dirt road. You go into the forest, you go through this golf course, and then it's like she saw the dirt road coming and was like, oh, okay, and like turned in, like she didn't want to go there. And then, to answer that question, yes, I used thermal imaging, but there would be nothing to thermal image, to be honest with you. But we did. I used it just because of the AI detection software to pick up. Like they used Coconino County used a software program called Locate. I used a different one called Eagle Eye, but
oh shit,
yeah,
sorry.
we did use that. But yeah, it's like she said, "Oh, I don't want to. I'm at the end of the road," and pulled into that place. And I don't know what she thought it was, because it's not like she was just making a U. It turned out she went in, like 100 yards into the driveway and then went in a drainage ditch. So
Addie's asking, can you shed any light on the note she left? I think we're just gonna. I think it's important right now to keep that private. I think that's.
I'll say that. So I know that we have a similar thing in our background where suicide's been probably just screwed up here.
That's all right.
So, so my brother and I lost my brother and my mother to that. And
me too. Yep.
That you have, and I don't think that this is the case in this, but my point is, mental health is something we really need to pay more attention to and not be ashamed of, and be willing to talk about it. And listen, I think that is going on here. There were some things with the particular to the bearded dragon, and if you go get the reports,
you can read it on your own.
But there's some things in particular to the bearded dragon that were going on mental health wise, and the note. I'll just say the note tied into
the dragon.
A person in her life that she lost, that died like 7 or 8 years ago. And I think she was going through a really hard time.
Yeah. So AZ's asking really quick, you saw her throw out the SIM card. Did you see?
No. So AT&T provided pings on it. And they said that this is exactly where it stopped. And so she said in the video, I threw the SIM card out. So it's, so the SIM card was working, it was pinging, and then it stops it right in the middle of the 60 freeway, and or the 93, whatever it is. It goes through Wickenburg, and AT&T confirmed that. And then she says in there, I threw the SIM card out. So I think it's
yeah. If you want to answer this real quick, and then we have a little an answer from PJ.
She's in touch with anybody. I don't, not anymore.
Okay.
I'll get into that then. I hope she is. I really do. God, if she's out there, please just so people know, it is not a crime to go missing and not tell anybody. Once you're 18, you have that right. So if you want to go missing, all you have to, and a missing persons report has been put on you, you're in what's called the NCIC, National Crime Information Center database. So anytime you make contact with any law enforcement officer in the country, you're going to come up as a missing person. All you have to do is tell them, I am willing, I want to be missing. I don't want people to know where I'm at. And all they'll do is what's called a locate. They will have somebody, usually by video, or have another officer that they'll send a photo to, just to make sure you're the person. They'll make sure you're okay. And then they'll call whoever filed the missing person report, and they'll say, we have located the person. They don't want their location given away. They're fine. That's all we can tell you. They will not give your location away. So if by chance she's out there, just call law enforcement and just say, I'm Chelsea Grimm. I am voluntarily walked. I don't want to be found, and they will respect that. They're not lock you up.
She's 18. Yep.
You can do that, and they'll tell the parents she's fine. Sorry, it'll be case closed.
Danielle's asking, do you think that she's in any type of rehab? It's quite possible.
I did hope, but after the 28 days, first 28 days passed, then I hope that's the case. I just don't have a good feeling about it right now.
So we have a response, and I'm going to read this and then give you kind of my thought, and if Steve wants to extend his thought on this as well. So PJ put a statement out there. He said, "I'm not comfortable with putting my voice on air because I'm a country singer, and it could ruin my career potentially. I will talk to both these guys on the phone, but I don't want to be. I don't want him taking what I say on the phone, sharing it, and cutting it up and twisting it. He is all defensive about me, saying that I am not helping her. I gave him everything." I gave them every question they asked. I literally have an email that details. He can ask me any question he wants there. I don't know that. She said that she was trying to go off the grid because of me, but we argued a little bit about the middle neighbor. She said she wanted to find her, but then I'm breaking up a promise, and I guess I'll stop. Please relay these messages to LTL. Tell him said thank you and God bless him, and I will call him tomorrow. I have a lot to process tonight. See, here's the thing. This is what I think about PJ right now. I'm not out here to try to bash on you or anything. We think that you have important details that you could fill in gaps, and that's why, it's always like you do this thing. You talk on social media, but you don't want to talk to us. And I think that we've been very nice about offering the platforms, and I think doing it live and getting it out there, it's so everybody can see it, because obviously you are a piece of the puzzle to this. I'm not implicating you in being involved in anything. We just want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts on this, and we'd like to hear some information because you were the closest person to Chelsea for 6 months. So maybe we can understand there were things that might be going on that could help fill in the gap and help fill in the investigation to where Chelsea is. So that's really my thought on it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the things I wanted to ask him are the same things I would ask the parents, the sister, everyone. It's literally off of form. I want to know, what her mental health was like leading up to this. I want to know what their conversations were about. I want to know what caused her to be scared those 9 days. I want to know why she did leave him, and she did. She listen, he can say what he wants. They were going to get back together once they got back from Tennessee and whatever. But she writes, she's like, I'm sorry, like, but I've got to go, and she can't deal with it anymore. And I want to know, if there, what her alcohol and substance use was like. I want to know if when he talked, so we were under the impression we never talked to her there. Now we find out that when she was on this trip, he did talk to her.
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating to find out that when she was in a motel and they were talking, and we didn't know that till like a couple weeks ago. And how long into this are we? So every day, every minute counts in search and rescue. Search and rescue rarely goes beyond 72 hours. And then they're like, sorry, but the probability of, and here we are at months and he's still jerking around with not giving us any answers.
I think that he is getting his kicks of being on social media and putting himself out there and not wanting to face up. And I'm going to look in the camera. I think that you're making this about you, PJ.
Yes.
We want you to stop. It's not
with the line, I'm a country singer and it could ruin my career.
Yeah, it's not about you.
Career. This is about a girl who is most likely deceased, and she doesn't deserve to be laying out in the forest and about to be covered with snow. Fuck your career, which is non-existent anyways, and do the right thing and give us the information, and we're going to leave you alone. Then you go do what you want to do. We're not trying to implicate you. I've already said I know from San Diego Narcotics Division that you were in San Diego when she went missing. I know that, and I know the other guy that's our investigation with you. So we're not trying to pin you on anything. Just wanted the answers. Now it's too late. I'm out. So I don't need to talk to you. PJ, don't call me. Don't write me anymore. Like, I told you when I needed the information, but I'm not part of it anymore. But I would give your true and accurate statement to Kelly, and I would do it like right away.
Yeah. That's all we want. I mean, just to fill in some of those gaps. But you've been bouncing around everywhere on everybody's platform. You leave comments on my thing. You have my number. You and I have texted. I've had phone conversations with you. I've treated you very respectfully. We just want to fill in some of the information that could fucking help solve where this young lady is. Like, that's it. I mean, that's all that we want. We just want to bring her home. And if she's in any type of distress, then we need to help her. We need to help her. Hazel's asking really quick, could she, but going further, I'm not going to waste any more time on you. If you want to do it, I'll drop the link for you. You can call me when I'm live and we can talk about it, but I'm not going to waste my time. I feel like you're wasting my time. So, if you want to fill in those answers, we can set up a show and do it. You can come on here and let us know. Everybody else involved in this case, everybody else involved in this case, even her friends have gone on here live and spoken with me. So what is it about you? Your buddy got on here. Elias got on here and talked to me. So, what is this? You to preserve your voice. It's total bullshit. I'm not wasting my time on it anymore. I have better things to do to look in and try to find out where Chelsea is. Bottom line, I'm done.
And I just want to throw one thing in. Like, I tried for the longest time to give him a chance. And I was not going to put out the audio where she says that because that's their personal business. That's between them and if it's a legal matter, to deal with it.
Right.
But he challenged me to do it this morning. And I'll tell you another thing. PJ, I know what happened on the 22nd. So, like, a lot of the questions I asked him, I know the answers to. 90% of them I know the answers to. Mm-hmm. I know there was an event on the 22nd. So, just, like, I need to know what her real mindset was after that and what it was that scared her to death. But I know generally what it was because, well, I can't.
Yeah, sure.
But, he just needs to be forthcoming because this girl was, I just saw a question go by. I
might be a little bit behind.
So she passed up help or something like that, and she did pass up help. And the only thing I can figure, two hunters came by. They came by, they saw she said, I have 2 flat tires and I'm out of gas, but I called, yes. But she said that she had called someone and they were bringing her a replacement or something to that effect, right? They leave and then they say, we can't leave. They felt weird about leaving a female alone on Forest Road 6. And so they go back and they ask her again. And she says she doesn't need help. Now, this is at noonish, right? And I have pictures of her in the car at 5:51. So she spent 6 hours there. She's got a fear of men now because of what's happened to her. And I'm not saying it's just PJ. I have a feeling that there's trauma throughout her life, which I feel just devastated for her about. But this is what happens when men beat on women. They become so fearful that she thought it was a better idea. She was more comfortable hiding and walking out of a forest that she's 14 miles deep in than accepting the help from 2 guys in a 4x4 that could have got her out okay. And that's not okay. It's like whatever put her in that state of mind, and is just not fair because she literally may have lost her life because of that fear that's been instilled in her, and that sucks.
Yeah, also, and thank you for the 1999. And Vanessa, I got your Venmo earlier. Thank you for the 15. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting LTL True Crime Podcast. Damn it, I had a thought. Oh, by the way, I just looked at my block list. My moderators did not block you, and I didn't block you. So you are free to chat here, PJ. I just told you I'm moving on from you because you don't want to come on live or call me. I mean, you have my number. I put it out there 1,000 times. You and I have talked on the phone, and I've dropped the link multiple times, but we will move on really quick. Carrie H with the 1999. Thank you so much. She said, PJ, you need to be transparent. No one here is trying to pin this on you. If you love Chelsea at all, you would help. And that's all we want. We want to just fill in a little bit more of those details, like Steve said, to find out what her mental state was, because this could be a huge breakthrough in this case and get us onto the right track, because it's now 11/15/23. We're past 2 months in this, and time is getting longer, and it's not good. AZ, weren't the hunters that offered help a man and a woman?
So again, kind of like the woodcutters thing, it gets a little confusing. There's hunters that offer that drove by her early in when she had
excuse me,
probably right after she had broken down, not long after, where the car was, and then there was 2 males, and then they came back and asked her again. The male and the couple, the husband and wife hunters that are referenced, those are the people that actually called the car into Coconino County, because they had they had gone out on like the October 2nd, and then came back out on October 4th, and the car was still there. And they're the ones who took the pictures that we saw some of earlier, and they called it into Coconino County. So those are different hunters, but they never saw her. They just saw the vehicle.
Sure. Let me just address this, and I'm going to get to that of the super chat really quick. So Roger's asking, would he be willing to come on without a chat, maybe less intimidating? I'm going to answer that right now. The name of the show is Let's Talk Live True Crime Podcast. So we talk live here. I don't do recorded. I don't do anything like that. When we have guests on, we do it live. It's out there live. We allow the chat to go there because that's what we do. This is what this show is about. So no, I'm not going to do a recording. I'm not going to do anything. If he wants to come on, like I said, everybody that has been in and around this case that I have tracked down to be here, everything they've done is live. So my voice is fucked up, and it's been fucked up for 10 days, and I'm here doing it. So, and I'm not a country singer. I'm a podcaster. Body blow biscuit butter. What this name is just hilarious. Is there any reason to be suspicious of Elias in your opinion?
You know, they created suspicion on themselves. I don't see anything that besides not suspicious, but very maybe opportunistic. You know, again, Elias. I talked to Elias when I was in Flagstaff. I was told to call Elias by Kelly, and I don't know what the hell happened. I was in a hotel and I called him and I said, "Hey, I was told to call you." And he's like, "Oh, I've got all this information. You got to see it. Videos, suspect vehicles." Well, I'm like, okay, and I'm like, "So where are you at?" He's like, "Well, I'm in Sedona." I'm like, "Oh, we're like 80 miles away."
Yeah.
So then he's like, yeah. He's like, we're here for my, I'm in a secret location for my personal protection. And I'm like, okay. And then, so it was like, I had been up in the mountain. It was like 11. I was exhausted. And he said, well, you call me tomorrow around between like 1 and 3 and we'll figure something out. And I'm like, okay. I wake up at like 6:30 in the morning and there's these videos he put out. And I'm like, these private investigators being paid and I'm not getting anything. Like, I've got all the information. You won't even give me a ride. And I'm like, give you a ride? What? I'm supposed to give you rides now? He didn't even ask me for a ride, but I'm like, now I'm your like ride service too? And like, I didn't want to be searched. But first of all, at this point, I don't know if he's suspect, but I don't want to be like,
right,
riding with somebody that I'm like, you know, like, so it's just crazy. And then I'm like, listen, I'm like, and then so he started saying that or in the morning, he called and I said, listen, I saw your video and I don't want your help. I don't need your help. I don't want your help. I was told to call you. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with you. He's like, dude, you need to. And I'm like, listen, I've got it covered. I've got experience. He's like, oh, all the cops are up there are corrupt. And I'm like, you know, I'm on a law enforcement search and rescue team. And he's like, well, I'm not saying that you are, but it's like, you know, I'm like, It's just like, it was just, and I was just like, God, is this what this case is? Everything was so distracting, you know what I mean? And there was just everywhere. It seemed like we just hit these barriers everywhere. I mean, thank God that Coconino County kind of saw that it was becoming a real shit show, and they deemed it non-criminal case, and they were like, you can have the evidence back, you know. And I went to the evidence room and they gave it all back, and thank God, because it provided a lot of answers, you know. But we could have used all that input from them. And, you know, the thing is, here's what it comes out to answer that question. Do I think they're suspicious? No. For whatever reason, they wanted to come up and be the heroes and run search and rescue and this and that and do a GoFundMe. And, you know, the gas stations that I went to and stuff, they all talked about them. They're like, you know, they were out there like hitting up every customer for money. And it's just about, you know, that's not what search and rescue is. Search and rescue, first of all, is, well, it's not that. Let's just say it's not that.
I'll say this. I will give Elias a little bit of credit. He came out right away when I asked him, hey, come on the show. He was a fun guest to have on. My crowd loved him. I will say this, if he's watching, thank you. I mean, a lot of balls to come out right away and do that.
I agree. And I watched that, and you know, and it's great. It's just like, but
we caught him on the GoFundMe, but that's another show.
You know, the thing is that he's thought we couldn't do our job without him, and then they wouldn't give, neither of them wanted to give the information, like, and we thought they had information. It ends up they don't have information, so it doesn't matter anyway. At this point, it doesn't matter. But at that time, we're thinking, okay, maybe they do have something, and we need that. And like normally, like people that are like when we go on search and rescue missions, or like when I'm a private investigator on a missing person case, like I just got back from Tennessee and I'm on 2 there. Like people are like pouring information on us, like here, like just this, because it's hard to like weed through. These guys are like, whoa, I'm writing a book and I'm a country here, and like it's like
so Carrie's got a feeling here. She just says Elias and PJ are clout chasers and they want attention. I got I'm sorry, I'm probably going to get this wrong. Armedia, I'm sorry. And she says, thank you for all that you do for the beautiful state of Arizona. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm glad that, we could shed some light on what was going out there. And again, we wanted to cut down all the conspiracy, all the bullshit that was being put out there. I wanted this to be transparent because this young lady doesn't deserve this. And ultimately, I think you're getting the tone of the stream. We just want her to come home.
Oh, thank you. Like I love Arizona. I am the lead investigator for San Francisco. San Francisco is kind of that's I joke. There's some people in the chat that I'll get that, like there's somebody else that likes to harass me that they think SF stands for San Francisco, so they're always like, that's San Francisco investigator. Such a dipshit.
No, it's your first and last name. Real quick, and we'll clear this up. When did she meet up with her sister? She didn't. That I don't know where that started. I think what people are misunderstanding is when she met up with her friend in Phoenix. I think that's what the misunderstanding was surrounding that. So I don't know. Let me just see if I don't see any more questions. We'll do a wrap up here. We're getting close to 2 hours. Steve, again, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much for doing this. And thank you for having the conversations with me over the last couple of weeks. And I know that you and I will stay in contact. I absolutely know that because ultimately I know this case weighs heavily on my heart and my shoulders. And I know it does to you too, because
it does. Chaos. That's one of the ones that, anyway, it does. It weighs heavily on me, and I will tell you, it weighs heavily on those locals up there that I mentioned. They were out there from like day one when they knew there was a missing person, and in fact, right before the show started, Julie texted me and was talking about how, because I'll be honest with you, because of all the drama that's gone on in the Facebook groups and stuff, they left that, and they were like, we're going to stand down. But she's like, her and her husband just can't let it go. And I think they're going to go out tomorrow and look. And so it's tough like that. And I'll be honest, I know that there's another big group out there in Motel their way, but there's a couple of us talking that might go up and do, based on what we think happened now, that might go up and do something. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it gets expensive, and I can only do so much of it. But there's a lot of people that I care about, including all these people in chat and the people that follow me online and the people that retweet stuff that's like they're missing posters and stuff. These people that care about other humans, and it's a special breed of people, because you got these people, and then the polar opposite. You got the people in the Facebook group that are just like, oh, let's just create chaos and
everybody.
He's dead, and like then we could turn it into a trial, and it's just gross. But the people like I have a group of people that support me online and stuff, and what I do, because it weighs on you. I mean, like when you're doing it every single day and dealing with tragedy and parents stuff, it can be heavy, but it's people that really like you keep going and everything.
Steve, I'll admit, I don't even know Chelsea from Adam. I've cried. I have cried in this, and I'll be a man and step up and say that. It gets very hard. And it's funny, I had a conversation with my mom today. We're talking, she was asking, how's the thing, the thing, she calls it the thing. How's the thing going? I said, it's going really well. I said, I have one of the lead investigators on, Chelsea's case coming on today. He was on the case. She said, oh, tell me a little bit about it. And I said, I said to her, I said, Mom, sometimes I just want to just put it down and just say I'm done. But there's that drive, once I'm on something, I have to see it to completion. And I will. I'll keep beating the drum
Yeah,
on this
you
case.
deal with this family, when you like in this case, I have not met the family, but uh, like there's a family calling me right now from family from Tennessee who there's a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old missing there, and yeah, both the cases, and they're just like, how could you ever like, not. I don't know. It's really hard to look them in the eye. You just you see the fear, and you see the devastation and the loss and the confusion of where their child is, and you just got to do it,
Mm.
And so,
So let me ask you this before we wrap up. I just want to do this for you. Again, I appreciate you so much for coming here and sharing your story. You are part of this story, and I know that I commend you. My chat commends you. The people that comment, and they really respect what you did out there. And I'm probably going to get a little emotional now. I'm sad. I really wish that you were still there and could continue, because I feel like you were so close. We just still need some answers. And I promise you, Steve, I will not let this case go unheard. The drum needs to be beaten. And I'm going to offer this invitation to you too. If you need ever a platform to come on to talk about any missing persons case, my platform is always open to you. I would love to have you here. Just get me the case information and we'll get the information out there and use this platform to do that. Absolutely. If I can help you in any way.
yeah, and I do want to say that I wish that this new group that's up there. I wish I want them. Listen, I want her found. I do not. I don't care about being the one to find her.
No, I don't care.
I just want to make sure that it's that it's being done, and that's, and listen, I'll be the first to admit I didn't like the way that it was done, the way
Yeah.
but that doesn't, this is truly about Chelsea, and I hope that they're leveraging those relationships up there and scouring that land, and if she's out there, she's brought home, because she deserves to be brought home. And,
Yeah, real quick. SJ Howard says, thank you for this live, Brian, and thank you, Steve, for being here. All right, let me, I think you probably just already said it, but where do we go from here, Steve? Maybe a brief summary of maybe some of the possible scenarios, what you think of, and then we'll end the show.
I think that two things kind of happened at once, and I think that she was kind of searching for a new life, and having she was in a manic state, and I think that she was just searching for some answers, and she got up there, and then I think those tires blew out, and I think she sat and she waited. She was scared of the guys, so didn't accept the help, and then I think she walked out in the night and probably walked towards the windmills, which are lighted up, and I think she arced the wrong way, and I think she's probably deeper. I think she's probably 15 miles out there towards the windmills, and that's tragic to say, and I hope it's not true, but
yeah, if anybody's watching, please get your crew out there. Let's look in that area.
yeah.
I had a lot of hope, Steve. I'm going to tell you, I still have hope. Believe me, I still have hope. But just learning some things over the last couple of days, my heart really sinks heavy, and I don't want to go there because there is still a possibility.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there is still a possibility.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying the probability is that, and I hate that it's that, and but I if that's the case, I just wish peace on her family and friends.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate everybody watching this tonight, because this is a very, very important stream. And I will say this tomorrow, and thank you, News Nation. They are going to pick this up. They're going to do a live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to do what's called Gonzo stream it. So we're going to watch it here. If you all want to come over and join us tomorrow, you can hang out with us and chat while we watch it. Before I conclude, just because Steve doesn't know, I hit an outro. If you want to hang out after or you got to go, I appreciate it.
I got this family in Tennessee.
Sure. But again, my hand is extended to you, Steve. If you need to talk about anything, please let me know. We'll bring it up. We'll do it here on LTL. Please, everybody, before we leave, let's throw up some yellow hearts in the chat. That's kind of been a thing here for Chelsea to support her. I'd love to see all the yellow hearts as the outro goes. And again, Steve Fischer from SF Investigates. You can find him on Twitter. I've pinned his link to his website up above. If you need a private investigator to help find someone that is missing, please reach out to Steve. I'm getting chills right now, man. It's such a great stream and very informative. And you can see all those yellow hearts. Everybody really cares for Chelsea. And I'm so glad what this platform and this community has brought to her case. And we'll keep beating that drum until she comes home. So.
Right. Thank you to you and all your subscribers and everything, and thanks for having me. And I hope I'm wrong, but either way, let's find her.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Steve. Have a great time. Thank you.
I don't know how to turn this off.
That's okay. All right, we're going to leave Steve to go. Again, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. This stream is very, very important. It's probably one of the most informative streams that we've done so far on Chelsea's case here on LTL True Crime Podcast. And again, Steve, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody here in the chat. All the donos tonight. It's been fantastic. All the questions that came through. And God, we've made so much progress, but we have so much more to go. If you haven't read the case file, I do have it here online. You can check it out. And I'm sure one of my mods will drop the link to the full playlist. You can go through. I started talking about this case on October 14th when no one was talking about it. And we've gone so far and we've made so much steps in awareness to this case. And I'm so glad tomorrow that the national media or world news is actually going to pick this back up again. But please join me tomorrow, Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to drop the link for that show tomorrow, and you all can hit your reminder. We're going to watch the live News Nation question and answer session and, kind of see what they have. And hopefully, maybe if someone needs information from News Nation on this case, reach out to me. We pretty much know everything. And you've seen interviews that can fill in a lot of the gaps here. So if you need some help, reach out to me. Let's Talk Live podcast@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Let's Talk Live YTC. Private message me. We'll get you the information. If you need to use videos or interviews, hit me up. Let's make it happen. We want to find Chelsea and bring Chelsea home. All right, everybody. It's getting late here. We're just coming up on 2 hours and a couple of minutes. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to all the new subscribers, new members, and I will see you all soon. Let's do this outro and let's see some yellow hearts on the way out. And we'll do that for Chelsea. Everybody have a fantastic night, and I will be back soon. Thank you. And Chelsea, please come home. Please come home. Good night.